Hello, I'm Steve Mickey, the old coach here for Belfry football program, and today on Between the Goalposts, we have a special guest for you. A guy that played 3 sports here, including quarterback for the Pirates, Dr. Gary Smith. Gary, glad to have you here today. Been wanting to get you in here for a long time.
Thank you, Coach. Yeah, this is my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah.
Gary played back. Now we're going to roll it back. 1978 to 81, it was his varsity years here, and you had a distinction of being the first quarterback to play in a state championship game for Belfry.
It goes way back, doesn't it? You remember that? You were on that staff. Yeah, it's good memories though, man. Anybody that followed that team and back in those days, they remember that. I'm pretty sure. You know, we this community was well, it's like it is today, but gosh, that was some good times.
It was, and what I always think about it on that was that first time climbing the mountain. It wasn't easy, was it?
You know, it's so different. It was so different then than it is today. But you're right. We did, and I'm not sure we were smart enough to know what we were doing. Right? We were just.
I agree.
We were just eager and anxious and. Yeah, but what a great season that was.
It was. We entered the state championship game undefeated, beat some good teams that year. State championship game didn't go the way we wanted to, but I think you'll agree with me, we proved once and for all Belfry could climb the mountain.
You know, and of course it's the history's been made since then, but it was a great time. We had fun doing it. You know, us it played. We didn't know. We were just doing what you guys told us to do, taught us to do. You know, so but it was of course the highlight, and you know this, the Fort Thomas Highlands game.
Yes.
That will forever, I think, stick around with those of us that were there. And of course, look at this thing. Huh?
Oh, we're telling our age now. We're telling our age.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fort Thomas, nobody was supposed to be able to go up there and win,
Do you remember that week, you guys, yourself, Coach Roddy, Coach May, after practice on maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, got us together and read a telegram. Of course, now, go back to 1979. And so we had a telegram from Fort Thomas giving us directions how to get there, and at the end it said, then by the way, bring your crying towels.
Yes.
You remember this?
Oh, I remember that.
And years later,
chills.
We're all ready to run through the wall. And years later, I asked Coach May, I said, did they really send that? And he just kind of laughed. He said, no, that was Coach Roddy.
But do you remember this? You remember one of the things that we packed to take to the game? Remember, we took our coolers. If you remember back then at the old high school, we was notorious for our iron water, that old red water.
I was going to say, we took our own water, didn't we?
We took our own water. We didn't want city water. We wanted that old iron water. Yeah, it was a bunch of country boys. Yeah, that's right. And we played a very physical brand of football.
I think they were surprised, don't you, that night? Of course, I don't know, I could be here all night and talk to you about this, but you remember this, and I tell this story all the time. I think that was the night, the genesis, the onset of the tunnel time.
Yes.
And I know you remember this because, as you remember, Fort Thomas had the tradition of bringing their fans out. They would wait till the visiting team came out onto the field. Then they would come down, split you, make you, just an intimidation factor.
Yes.
And Coach Roddy and you guys said, well, we're not going to go out first. We're going to wait till they are out. So here we sat in the locker room, ready to go. Referees come by, Coach, you got to go. He would say, are they out there? No, sir, we're not going out. Our fans decided to come down and match their tunnel, so you had 2 crossing tunnels. Yes. And one time he said he asked you, said, Coach, look out there and see if they're out there. And you looked out and you come back and said, no. He said, but I believe our tunnel's bigger than theirs.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
So that was great. And the state championship game. Listen, we had, and you remember this, we had kids that had never been out of Pike County before.
Right.
Going to these games and then going to Louisville and playing in that. We were just that Fort Thomas game, anyone that remembers that, that was sort of our state championship.
I agree with you.
We'd celebrated
agree.
all week leading up to that. And we paid for it on the state championship game, but still, what a time. Huh?
It's the first time we played on AstroTurf, even though it wasn't great AstroTurf, but back then that was huge.
Right.
Now we look out the window, we practice, we play on there. Times have changed.
There's so much in it.
Yes.
You remember during the week of practice, we went to Huntington, practiced on the old Fairfield Stadium, Marshall's Field on that. Oh, we thought we were, kings of the field.
And if you remember, we had to have new shoes.
Yeah. So I'm not sure the kids today, know how good they have it out here, right?
Yeah, that was for us. First time, like I said, first time with anything, but that was a huge mountain, and we didn't necessarily, bring it home, but man, we just proved, like we talked about a while ago, that yes, Belfry can do this.
Absolutely. And then, if you remember, the following season, we opened up the year number 1 and played in the Rec Bowl.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
Now, at that time, the Rec Bowl was the granddaddy of them all, wasn't it?
Yes.
And so we were, we were big time.
It was like our coming out party.
Yes,
so to speak.
Absolutely.
The stage started to get bigger to what it is now. All right, now the other thing I want to sort of shift a little bit, and the one thing I really remember about you and really admired was you not only played football, you was a standout basketball, you was a standout baseball, and today you don't see many 3 sports players anymore. It seems like they want to specialize in one. What's your thoughts on that?
Good point. I've often thought that. I agree. It doesn't seem like you have that. I don't know. I just loved playing them.
Yes.
And you're right, though. We didn't. The emphasis on specializing wasn't like it is maybe today, right?
Right.
I don't know. I remember then somebody asked me, "What's your favorite season?" or "What's your favorite sport?" Which one of the 3? And I say, depending on which season it is.
Right.
So I love playing them all, but it was just different, or at least I think it was. I don't know how it is, but man, the relationships we had, the coaches we all had, it was just. I couldn't have thought about not playing. We just had a blast from freshman year all the way to graduation.
Yeah, and in a school, especially the size of our school now, your best athletes, to me, they've got to play all 3 sports. We don't have enough kids just say, I'm going to play this one, you all play this one.
That's a great point.
I think to be successful on each team, I think you got to get those kids out.
Yeah. We had what? 1,200 kids in the school then, maybe more. Well, maybe it was more. We had 200 and some in our class.
Yes.
250 maybe, something like that. So yeah, totally different. Nowadays you kind of need that. I don't know. We didn't have the, I hate sounding like this, but we weren't inside playing,
video
Xbox
games,
and that kind of
right?
stuff.
Okay,
So,
yeah, I hear you.
we were outside, but it was just a good time. But it was that way everywhere, don't you think?
Yes, I agree.
All the local schools had. That's why we had such big rivalries. Look at the rivalries we had. Of course, Williamson's no longer there, but yeah, that was some big time stuff.
Yeah, because you knew everybody from every sport, so it was if there was everybody was so familiar with each other. Every game Friday night was a huge one, wasn't it?
Absolutely,
it was a huge game. Yeah,
and it still is, but I don't know. It just seemed like that was big time stuff.
Yeah,
and it was just fun to be a part of that. It's fun to be a part of it.
Well, no doubt you playing all these sports, especially football, because I was there with you in football and stuff, and don't let anybody kid you. Football's not easy. It's the one practice of all the sports. It's not a whole lot of fun, is it?
Well, it's we had such fun though. I was telling somebody the other day, in 79 and 80 when they were building the 4-lane from Williamson to Belfry, right?
Right.
And when we had the 2-a-days in August, then I guess they start school now in first or second week of August, but back then it seemed like it was near the end of August.
It was.
And we had those 2-a-days there, and you guys would have us up there at 7 a.m., 7:30 for the first practice, and we go home and come back in the evening. Brian Johnson and I, coming from South Williamson, got stopped one time in construction. So we sat there for 10, 15, 20 minutes. By the time we got through and got up here, threw our gear on, went out on the field. Everybody else was already out on the field. Of course, Coach Roddy stopped everybody, huddled us around. He said, Smith, Johnson, we're glad you could join us. Said, why, any reason you're late? Said, well, Coach, we got stopped by construction. I'll never forget. He said, Smith, where do you live? I said, South Williamson. He said, where do I live? South Williamson. He said, I made it on time. So I said, he's got us, But it was some good times. No question.
But you obviously learned some lessons there.
Oh, tons of lessons that we still use today. And I would tell these kids today, I've said it all along, you'll learn lessons. Listen, this. In all sports, you learn some lessons. But it's nothing like football. Football will teach you things that you remember and deal with and for the rest of your life. Most importantly, just responsibility. I'm responsible for you. You're responsible for me as teammates. You can have 10 guys doing their job, but if one doesn't, the play breaks down. You have to have everybody working together. That's pretty strong as and I always felt like that's what you all instilled in us. We didn't go anywhere, any field, any stadium that we didn't think we could win.
Right.
And you have to have that confidence in your teammates. One of the most fun things I always had when we played is when we went on the road. It was always fun to play a home game, but when we're on the road and you go to a stadium and we would arrive there 2 hours before kickoff, take our gear into the locker room, come out in our travel shirts and just walk the field, and you could just look around and see the people looking. We had 80 kids on the team, something like that. So it was confidence, man, and I still carry that with me today.
Yeah, what you just described, you may not know this, and something that we continue today to preach. That's Pirate pride.
Still do it today.
You was proud of that red shirt.
Yes, sir.
And even today, you are. Let me ask you this: when you're out and about, when you run into some of your old teammates you lined up with on Friday night, it means a little something more, doesn't it?
We tell stories. We could sit all night long and tell stories. It just had so many, right?
And,
most of them we can't really say on camera here, right? But we still talk about it today when I see guys. And then it's been 40 some years ago.
Yeah. And the thing about those old stories I always find out that when we retell these stories, all of a sudden you become a better player, and I'm a lot better coach now than I was back then, according to the stories.
That's right. We're all better, in our stories now.
Are you glad you came back to Belfry and started to practice?
Well, sure. I love the town we grew up in and the people, and when I went into optometry, I wanted to have as my patients people that I knew and families and this kind of thing, and I've been at it now 33 years, and I called my practice family eye care, and we see them from age 2 to 92,
Right.
So we're an area that we deal with some hardships here. We know that, but there's a lot of pride in people, and they sometimes here we sometimes think, you hear say, well, we don't work hard and that kind of thing. But I beg to differ on that. I think you've got some blue collar, hard working people,
yes,
honest, give the shirt off their back to you. That's the kind of people I just want to be around,
Yeah, and that's the kind of people you played football with.
Absolutely. And you still see some. You're right. A while ago, I still see some of these guys today that live here, and it's been 40 years, but it's just we go right back to our relationships we had then.
Seems like yesterday.
Absolutely,
it really does,
yeah.
and I'm glad it does that. And I know you're probably like me when you come up here to a game, and all of a sudden that tunnel unrolls. Band starts playing, the door kicks open, you hear those cleats on the concrete. What's the feeling inside Gary Smith?
It takes you back in time. I get a little fired up.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting in the stands and I just somewhat a casual observer, and all of a sudden, flag comes out, or ball hits, and I'm yelling, ball, get on the ball, that kind of thing. So it all comes back. Yeah, sure,
that's good.
Sure.
And that's why we had you here today, because I know you're a part. You're a part there. Then you're a part now, and that's what this show's all about: bringing back some of the greats to ever play that made this program one of the most storied programs in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I don't care where you go in the state. You could talk about all these other schools when it comes to playing football and stuff. Mention Belfry High School and see the reaction you get.
Absolutely, and I'll tell a quick story about that. I was on a golf course in Western Kentucky, and with some guys, and they said, well, where are you from? And I said, Belfry. And the first thing he said was, oh, y'all got some good football up there.
Right.
Didn't know anything else. But yeah, you're exactly right on that.
Right. Well, we're so happy to have you here today. You're a big part of this program. You were a big part of this program, and we're family here. Once you put that jersey on, it says Belfry across, man, you're family till the day they lower you down.
Absolutely, yeah, I appreciate it. This is fantastic, and I appreciate being you guys invite me on.
Okay, maybe we can have you back one day.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.